Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this session, the Code Connect session about managing your Horizon environment using the Python module for Horizon. First, let's get rid of the disclaimer. I don't need that in here. So, just to introduce myself, my name is Wouter Kirsten. I work at Control Up as a professional service engineer. I have been certified VCIX, DCV, VCX, DTM, done some things with NSX here and there. I've been a vExpert since 2016, a vExpert EUC since a couple of years, was a EUC champion before that, and I'm also VMware Code Coach. You can find my blog on the Horizon APIs, mainly on retouw.nl, Twitter I have, email, and you can find most of my things on GitHub as well, including all the scripts, all the IDs that I am using inside this session. So, short introduction, Python module for Horizon. I started development in January of this year. It was part of my 100 Days of Code project. I started learning about Python. I knew a bit beforehand, but I started to learn a bit more about it. And I was like, yeah, I find this course boring, but let's make something useful. So I decided to actually make a Python module for Horizon. It's based on the Horizon REST APIs. So totally depending on the availability of those REST APIs. Right now, the module has been updated to Horizon 8 build 2106. So sadly, we cannot create desktop pools yet, but we can create other things. And when the time is okay, we will see some of that. And you can find it on github.com/magnet/horizon_REST API Python. And actually, that's all that I'm going to show slide-wise. Now, let's do some things. Let's have some fun in here. So I'm not sure how familiar most of you will be with Python. Most will be with PowerShell. So a couple of big differences with Python. It is capitalization is important. So you need to use correct cases. It's also if once you are going to write in loops and things like that, indentation is key. If you don't have the correct indentation, your Python script will fail. But I won't do that. Now for the Horizon Python module, what we need is requests. So this is done for REST API calls. It's actually also in the module, but I always load it here. Get pass, I use that to get the password for the account that I use to connect. URL lib, I still haven't found a proper way to accept all certificates. So I actually disable the certificate warnings. And sometimes I do something with JSON, so I'm loading that by default. Next up is that I import the VMware Horizon Python module. This needs to be right now in the same folder or in the same path as where I am running my scripts or where I start Python. Then, like I said, I'm ignoring the certificate warnings. With this, my default examples always ask for the URL for the connection server, but I have it hard coded here. So this is my connection server, same thing for username, same thing domain, but I do ask for the password. So let's run this first. And after that, I will come to the connection parts. Let's pull up and I'm going to start Python here. I'm running it from Windows. I've done the same things from Linux. I have seen no issues. So, but just to demo this, it's a bit easier for me to do the Windows. So I'm running all of that what I copy pasted. Now it will ask for the password. I've got that stored. I don't need it anymore. Now let's go to the next part. So first I will create an object that will be used to authenticate. From the module, I get the connection class with the details, and then I actually connect. And if it doesn't fail in my scripts, I usually print connected just to show that I am connected. Let me copy this. And with this, I get this back. I'm actually connected. Now, to show some different things, this one can go, by the way. There are some things that you can do to get started with Python module for Horizon. You can always use help. I will actually move my Visual Studio Code to the other screen, so I don't need to switch around all the time. Within the help, and I will break it off here, you actually see config, connection, entitlements, external federation, inventory, monitor. So these are all the classes that I have defined. And except for the config, or except for the connection part, you will see that they match up. The connection would be the odd part in the Horizon Swagger. Config entitlements, here we have all, so they match up to what you see in your Swagger browser for the connection server, or what you actually have in the API Explorer. And you can do a bit deeper. You can also get help for monitor, for example. Show you that. Here, see, I do. Wait, let me give some enters. Help for the monitor class. I need to first define the monitor. So to load the monitor class, I actually define a monitor object, VMware Horizon module. Now scroll up a bit here. That's better readable for most. Horizon.monitor. See, capitalization is key. I use my connection object URL, use the access token that I have in the connection object to define my monitor object. And now when I do help monitor, it actually shows all the functions that are available inside the monitor class. Now there are some fun ones. Let's actually see, there's also a different way to, because here it has explanation. Okay, I've added information about when it's available. Something that you can also do is, if you dir on the monitor, with Python you always need to use print when you write to the console, and with a dir you'll get actually what's all available in here, and you will see from here on, these are all things that you can actually do within the monitor. So let's do one. So I will print. I will actually get help for the connection servers part. Let's do that first. Server. So here you get my help for the specific object. Okay, connection server, what do you need to provide? I need to provide ID as a string if you really need to. So this is for a single connection server. If you would do for multiple, for all of them, it's a list of all. You see, you don't need anything. And this available since Horizon. So let's actually do that. Print monitor dot connection servers. I guess let's actually print what's in here. It might be a bit less readable directly as it seems to be. You see all of this. It's, you know, I only have one connection server, so it is a list of dictionaries. If you would want to make this a bit more readable, what I always do is you can use a for loop, and actually with this I know we need a double for loop. So let me copy this again. I actually created a CS connection server. So you see for every object in connection server, because it is a list, then I get for every object inside every object, I do print with the data for that one. So the ID is this. So this is the GUID of the connection server. Name, status is okay. There are no connections right now. And let me actually start some connections in the meanwhile while we're looking at this. I've Got some things coming. I hope they don't pop up on my screen directly. So I'm not using default certificate. So a certificate, validation, an epoch, services, what services are running? Are they okay? What version am I running? 803, so we're using 2106. I'm just hoping that all of my sessions are working out, otherwise some other things might not work that I want to show to you. So, but for example, we also have farms, for example, that we can see in. I was expecting to get some sessions by now, but we'll see. Let's go to the farms part. I'm getting some sessions. Cool. So farms is monitor farms. So I have two farms, farm 02 manual, status okay. And you can do the same thing, but Forms has an option inside the monitor. Desktops, desktop pools do not have that, sadly. But I do have plenty of sessions now, so I can show you that later. But for example, we also have virtual centers that you can see. And all of this was also available in the SOAP APIs. I've probably shown it with the REST APIs as well. Not getting an... I'll just show vCenter. Must be a typo in there somewhere. Oh, actually, there's no typo, but I'm missing something. But here you see the vCenter objects, one vCenter, you see data stores, all of that, and I should have shown that in a nice list, but it's not showing it. Oh wait, I've defined the host object in here. So let's look at the hosts. That's what I did. I didn't print. I created the host object because I wanted to have the host from here. Now I'm only showing the host. Okay, CPU core count, CPU speed, memory, name. I have added them on IP address in my vCenter. You see all the information about the host. And actually some of this information, I'm not sure if I've even seen these things in the SOAP API Explorer. So those are some things that you can do. Health checks, go over health, things like that. Now, we also have, for example, if we want to show machine information, for that we will need to use the inventory class. So I'm going to connect. Copy pasting never works properly. So now I connect to the inventory class, and for example, if I want to show all my machines, set machines variable. Now I'll print all my machine information. So there's quite a lot in here. I know I always start with the ID. So we'll work down from here. So this is the GUID for the machine. Name, DNS name, desktop pool ID in case you need to get information from the desktop pool. What's state? Someone's connected to this machine. What's the type? Managed machine. So if it is a physical machine, it's unmanaged. That's the difference. OS, architecture, agent version, agent build, what's pairing state, and all information about virtual vCenter, host name, where it's running, storage, where it's on, what's power state. Yeah. You even see in here that there's an app volume loaded for this one. It's not missing vCenter, it's not customization, it's not the maintenance, all the good stuff. And so this is just the basic things. What I could do is actually what I should have done to show this to you. I could have printed only the first one or the last one, whatever we like, right? Now, the same thing we can do with the RDS hosts. So machines are always the VDI machines. RDS hosts have a different thing, inventory. This is giving an error somewhere, so let me Oh, break out of that help inventory. And I'll actually print it there for inventory. Here's quite a lot. Get farm, get error, get underscore RDS underscore servers. Oh, this needs to be servers. So let's try that again to get all the names of my RDS servers. See, sometimes even in preparation, I make errors. And even when the recording is, because this is a recording that you're listening to right now. So I got 3 hosts, 1 manual, 2 other ones. So here we get the names. First I get the RDS host. For everyone, I print the name. I'm not going to do this one. I could, for example, reset machines with a single one. I will actually do the reset one machine. So machine IDs. And now I will append. So I've created a list of machine IDs. And now I will append the first one of the machines to the machine IDs. And now I could do inventory. And I will do a get machine. Let me get machine. I get machine. Actually, scroll up. Print inventory. Get machine. And I will actually use ID is machines 0. Now we'll need to see if this is going to work. Dot get. Oh, I'm probably missing. Print inventory dot get machines. Open, 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 close, open, close. Probably need to add 2 actually. No. ID is machines 0 dot get. I got the machine. Now I'll do a print inventory dot get underscore machine. And what did it do? I need. Let's maybe help monitor dot get machine. Oh, inventory. I'm messing this up. Inventory. See, I'm not all that, even though I create, I'm not that fluent. I need a machine ID. So print inventory dot machine get underscore machine ID is ID. And I need to close this. So I have this machine. Okay, this is the ID, this is the name of the machine, all the information. Now what I will do is actually inventory dot reset machine, I believe is this. Machine ID is ID. You actually see state connected, all of those things. Yeah. What was it then? I want to reset the machine. It has to be a list, so I will use reset machines, and I will use the machines and machine IDS equals, and for that I will use the machine underscore list that I created. I didn't create for nothing. So resetting this, so it only had this machine in there. So let's actually get this machine, and you see here that it is in maintenance mode, so it's being reset. It's getting the boot. I wanted to show a lot more sessions, demonstrating session things, but what I would like to do is actually, I want to go over creating something. So I will pull up Visual Studio Code again, and you will have more examples than what I'm showing here on my GitHub. I want to create a farm. Now, for farms, I have decided to work with a JSON and not to have all the variables that you might or might not need to the function, because that would just be way too many. Here I have created a farm JSON. This is actually just about the entire copy paste of the information that you get from the Swagger API. So I just copy the content of that page. So that's actually, let me. And that is actually, let me, no, not here, not config. This inventory. And it is a farm, and we're using a put to create one. So I've used this content for the example value here. I've put that in a JSON, and what I will actually do, and let me also show you that I currently do not have this farm yet. If my admin page wants to display, it's being a bit slow, but otherwise you will just have to believe me. I will hopefully will be able to show it once it's done. Create a complete script, all the logins again. I load some of these by default. With this, I load my JSON file. It's in the same folder in this case. I put the JSON file in the data. Create list for my vCenter, or get my vCenter. So I store the vCenter ID. Same thing with my data center where I want to store it. There's only one data center. I know I need to set the base VM. Okay, get base VMs, filter. I need to have, okay, this is the, here with this I get list of all my base VMs that I could use. And the base VM that I'm going to use is the one that is this name. So there's a for loop in here. Get the ID, same thing with snapshots. And I'm gathering the information, what host or cluster needs to be set, what's the name of the cluster, all of those things. VM folder, what VM folder needs to be played. So it looks to be more typing than just the PowerShell module, but once you get this inside an Ansible playbook or use it for something like that, it's actually easier in the end to use something like this instead of having a huge ass one-liner for a PowerShell data stores. And here you see me overwriting all the information, naming pattern, all those things inside my data. And in the end, you will see me creating the new farm and disconnect, because that's what I always do. Now let me quickly show you my farms. You see, it's only two farms here, manual and instant clone. Pull up this. So now I will Python and then create farm. So I will create that RDS farm, ask for the password, connect it. It takes a few seconds to create everything. Okay, I'm getting 200 back, so it should be okay. Now let's have a look at it. See, still a 2. When I do a refresh, I actually have my Python demo farm. So that's created. I didn't enable it, but it might as well have been enabled and now be deploying some machines in here. So the same thing can be done using for an application. I have my application JSON, new application. Again, all the information copied from the Swagger UI. What do I need? Standard, you see these are all default examples that they use. What I'm doing, I get my farm. I'm actually using my new farm, getting the ID. I remove some of the parts that I don't need. So with an application, you need either a farm ID or desktop pool ID. You can't have both of them in there in the JSON. So I just create that part of the dictionary, some of the other things, and actually in Firefox isn't in there, but it will actually, if you look at here, create an application for Firefox. Let me Python create application.py and the password. I'm connected and I'm running out of time. So let me quickly show you this one. And now if we go to applications, you'll see Firefox has been added for Python demo farm. So with that, I am out of time. I would have loved to show you even more, but we just have a limited amount of time. I want to thank you all, and hopefully you're actually even going to be able to see this live instead of this recording. Thank you very much.